Open Mixcraft 9 Pro Studio directly from the desktop. It should be located on the left-hand side of the screen, and once it's opened, it'll look something like this. The laptop or computer that you're using should already have an interface connected to it. To begin playing and recording an instrument like a guitar or bass, connect the instrument cord on your desk into the instrument you want to play. Plug the other end of the instrument cord into the front of the interface. The port that you plug it into should have a guitar symbol on it. The blue track at the top of Mixcraft is a MIDI track, also known as a virtual instrument track. Since we're going to be recording us playing an actual instrument, we won't be using that track now. The tracks that say audio track, which are colored green, are tracks that we can use to record our instrument. We need to tell Mixcraft where it should be detecting our recording. We use interfaces like the one connected to your machine right now because they have their own sound card and they make it easy to connect instrument cords and mics. Let's start with the first audio track from the top, which is track 2. Click the down arrow next to the word ARM. Hover over the line 1/2 M Audio Air option and select left channel. The ARM button should now be red. Now that we've selected our recording device for this track, we can adjust our metronome settings. This whole line right here is called our transport. Its most common use is the metronome, and it can be dragged out into its own window. You can grab it right here and move it wherever you want. I normally just leave it where it is. We're going to use this transport area to choose our metronome settings. By default, a click track will play at 120 beats per minute when you record. You can adjust the speed of the click track right here. Simply click on the number 120, type the amount of beats per minute you'd like, and press enter. If you're not sure how fast you want your project to be, you can begin recording by pressing R on your keyboard. You'll hear the click track play, and you can adjust it as you listen by hovering over the BPM number and using the up and down arrows. To stop recording, press the spacebar on your keyboard. To delete the empty audio region, you can either right-click on the region and select delete, or click on the region once and press the backspace button on your keyboard. If you'd like to turn the click track off entirely, right-click anywhere in the transport area and select metronome and count-in settings. You can then uncheck recording to turn the click track off for when you record. By default, you will not hear a click track when you play back your recorded sound. If you'd like to hear the click track during playback, you can adjust that here as well. When finished, click OK. Before you begin recording, make sure your yellow marker is where you'd like to start recording. Since this is the very first recording of our project, I wanted to start recording right at the beginning. You can do this by clicking anywhere in your timeline, followed by pressing the home button on your keyboard. Confirm your track is armed by checking that the arm button is red. Then press R on your keyboard to begin recording. To stop recording, press the spacebar. Once an audio region has been recorded, you can adjust it by moving the ends left or right to shorten it. This is especially important when there might be some extra noise during quieter parts of the recording. Some other quick settings you may want to consider can be found on your toolbar here. This area here is called your timeline. It's where we'll see all of our recorded regions. Right now, we're seeing our timeline by beat, which means that every 4 clicks, the recording will reach the next number. If you'd prefer to view your timeline by minutes and seconds, just click Time on the toolbar. You can also choose whether your recorded regions snap automatically to grid lines in the timeline. I prefer only to snap to grid during specific scenarios, like when working with MIDI tracks, so I usually change this to off. I also like to see things really close up, so I usually adjust my view. You can do that by clicking View at the top left of Mixcraft, hover over all tracks height, then select either large or extra large depending on your need. I can also adjust the height of each track individually by dragging the edges like this. Once I start accumulating more and more audio regions in my timeline, I can double click at the top of the timeline to create markers. This helps me know where my verse is, bridge, hooks, start and end, anything that I want to keep track of. After double clicking at the top of the timeline, you can enter in a name for each marker. You can also change the color before clicking OK. You can rename any of your audio tracks by clicking here. Each audio track has a built-in tuner, a mute option, the ability to solo the track so that it's the only one that plays back, automation, which lets you change the track volume and left-right pan at various points during the song. That way you can make a change just to one part without it impacting the entire track. When the automation button is selected on a track, you have the option in this dropdown to either adjust the volume or track pan, pan meaning left or right. When volume is selected in the automation dropdown, click anywhere on the horizontal line to create a point. Move that point up to raise the volume at that spot, move it down to lower the volume. This makes it easy to fade tracks in and fade them out. When track pan is selected in the automation dropdown, click anywhere on the horizontal line to create a point. Moving that point up will make the sound shift right. Moving it down will make the sound shift left. Automation also lets you adjust certain plugin effects at various points as well. Speaking of plugins, let's take a look at some of the available plugins that we can put on our recorded audio. Well, first off, what is a plugin? A plugin is like an add-in. It's an extra piece of software that you can use inside of your recording program. They usually have their own graphic interface. There's so many plugins that exist, and it's really easy to get lost in the world of plugins because they all add different effects to your audio, and a lot of them are really cool. Click the FX button on the track that you're working on to bring up the plugin library. You can search by name or scroll down the list. There should be a PDF document in the pop-up folder on the desktop that'll give you a brief description of what most of these plugins do. Some cool plugins you might want to check out are the Lifeline Console for general adjustments and filters, Ozone Elements, which uses AI to listen to your audio and makes suggested edits, Manipulator to add unique warping, and NeuronTube for distortion. You can choose as many plugins as you want per track, but the more that you use, the more CPU usage you'll take up. This could eventually lead to crashing or freezing. After you tweak the plugin you choose, click the X in the upper right corner of the plugin, then X out of the effects window. To hear how your audio region sounds with the newly added plugin, click right before the start of your audio region, press the spacebar, and hear how it sounds. All of the tracks in your project combined make up your master track. The master track is where you can adjust volume and add effects to your project as a whole. It has an automation line where we can adjust the master volume at different points by clicking on the horizontal line and moving those points up or down to raise or lower the volume. The mixer can be viewed by selecting Mixer at the bottom left. From here, we have a lot of the same options that we do on our timeline, but with the added benefit of being able to easily adjust more track parameters, like adjusting the high, mid, and low frequencies, adding a compressor effect, and overdrive effect. One common way to edit an audio region would be to split it. This would be cutting it into two pieces. You can split an audio region by clicking on the region and making sure that the yellow line is where you want to cut, followed by pressing Ctrl-T on your keyboard. You can also split a region by clicking on the region, make sure that the yellow line is where you want to cut, and then right-click and select Split. Right-clicking on an audio region brings up a bunch of helpful audio editing options. Common actions include fading in or out, copying, and adjusting the envelope volume. Adjusting the volume by hovering over the word envelope can be helpful when you want to be consistent with how much you increase or decrease the volume. If you hover over properties, you have options like micro fade in or out and normalizing. Normalizing will convert a really quiet audio region into a louder version. Don't forget, you can play or mute a region by using the available buttons at the top left of the region. For those who want to duplicate the region, clicking the plus sign will duplicate it as many times as you want. Doing this, make sure that your track is aligned to your timeline exactly how you want it to be duplicated, otherwise it'll be off beat. Save your project by going to File, Save As. You can save your project wherever you want, but we suggest saving it in either the Mixcraft project folder on the desktop, or create your own folder within user folders, also located on the desktop. Enter a name for your project file, and click Save. After saving your project as, make sure to click the Save icon at the top left periodically while you work. Once you're done with your project, you might want to mix it down to an audio file. To do this, go to File, Mix Down, and select the type of audio file that you want to export your project as. For the best quality mix it down to a WAV file. Using MP3 will lose audio quality, but MP3 is a good option if you need the file size to be smaller, like when you don't have a lot of room on a thumb drive, or need to fit it as an attachment in an email. Once you select the file type, if any portion of the project isn't saved, you'll be prompted to either save your most recent changes, or you can choose not to. Usually you would click yes. If everything's already saved up, then you'll be prompted to choose a location where you want the audio file to be mixed down to. Choose a location and name that you'd like the audio file to have. Once you click save, it'll start mixing down. Leave it be while it mixes down. You'll see the process of the rendering at the bottom left of the program. Once it's fully mixed down, it'll automatically play through the computer's default media player.